With many school districts heading back to class this month, parents and students may not see some usual faces. According to the Texas Education Agency, teachers are leaving in record numbers, and many districts are having issues filling those critical positions. Joining us this morning to shed a light on the teacher attrition problem, Dr. Lizette Burks, Assistant Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Houston downtown. Great to see you this Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Let's get right to it. Why are so many teachers leaving the profession right now?
This is a great question. If you care about kids, you have to care about teachers. And just a few months ago, we celebrated National Teacher Appreciation Week. And this year was certainly different as teachers are reporting burnout in record numbers. And equitable pay has been an ongoing issue for teachers. I don't think it would surprise anyone to know that teachers are underpaid for the level of education that they're required to have nationwide. And before the pandemic, we actually saw strikes due to this inequity in pay. Oklahoma was home to the first statewide teacher strike in 2018. And so alongside inequity in pay, there was actually a shortage of teachers before the pandemic. In 2019, Texas Education Agency reported shortages in multiple disciplines. And so this actually results in more work for teachers in the classroom.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about, I recently spoke with the Texas American Federation of Teachers, and they conducted a survey of more than 100 educators from across the state, and the overwhelming majority of responses, there were 4 different categories they could respond to. The overwhelming majority of responses, it was something like 48%, were in the culture, the working conditions, that there were so many concerns raised about working conditions and the culture of a particular district, how a particular district is run, how a particular school is run. Could you talk more about that?
Certainly. I think that the undervaluing of educators was certainly seen during the pandemic as well. So not just before the pandemic, but oppressive systems for educators were exacerbated during the pandemic. And we saw a lot of unjust policies that were put in place in some districts during the pandemic. And teachers were often not included in planning for those policy changes that happened in school districts that directly related to their duties. And so you mentioned that survey that was conducted, the National Education Association, it's the largest nation's teachers union, said that 55% of educators are indicating that they're ready to leave the profession earlier than planned. And there's a similar survey that was conducted here in Texas with similar numbers.
And teachers overwhelmingly saying, no surprise to you, I'm sure, they want a greater voice in helping to shape the district policies. And they also want less paperwork, less required paperwork. They want to spend more time actually teaching the kids.
Yes, certainly. I think that something that's not often talked about is the multitude of mandates that are placed on public schools at the district, state, and federal levels. So that impact can be placed on school operations and instruction without really understanding their cumulative effects. And that also results in teachers experiencing that burnout.
What are some of the ways that districts can work on keeping teachers, and how can parents at the same time support those educators who are staying in the profession?
I think you mentioned a really key topic is that school districts that are convening committees to work on solutions, those should be co-designed with teachers. So solutions should not be created in a vacuum, and teachers are essential to this discussion. And any committee that's convened should definitely have a strong representation of a diverse group of teachers. And another key point is just the teacher base pay should be increased to match the skill and the licensing that's involved for this profession. Districts and policymakers at every level should certainly be working on opportunities to increase financial support for teachers. And I think also for school districts, taking a look at removing unnecessary barriers to retaining and recruiting more teachers is important. So this does not mean that we change the quality, of the skill that's needed to be an effective teacher. Instead, districts should really be working with the education community to find solutions that decrease barriers, but not the standards of becoming a teacher.
And go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and for parents, I have a really great story. I come from a family of educators, and I recall a special moment at a public event where a former student of my mother's came up to her, hugged her, and asked her if she remembered her. And my mother recalled her name instantly. She had taught her in elementary school, and this individual now had children of her own. And I like telling that story because it really shows that teachers can have such an impact on a student's life. And we know absolutely for sure that teachers are the most important school-based factor for student success. So as parents understand more about the teacher shortage, and they can advocate for policymakers at each level to find solutions to the teacher shortage that doesn't undercut the quality of a standard to be a teacher. So that voice is vital for parents to also advocate as well.
Yeah, so important that teachers have that support from parents. Dr. Lizette Burks, Assistant Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Houston downtown. Thank you so much this morning for your insight and perspective. We appreciate it. Have yourself a great day.
Thank you.